This is exactly how I manifested my dream life. I live in Dubai, I'm engaged, I've got a gorgeous little puppy, I drive my dream car. I'm here to tell you that it is just that easy. I always had, growing up, like 5-year plans, like even from a really young age. So when I was in high school, I had a 5-year plan that I would go to sixth form, I would do my A-levels, I would pass my A-levels. So the plan was obviously GCSEs, which I did, although I'm not sure how. Get into sixth form, do your A-levels, pass your A-levels, get into uni, complete my first 3 years of uni, get a job. I mean, I had a job at the time, but I was working in a coffee shop and I wanted to go into work that was more in the field of the direction of where I wanted to go when I was older. I wanted to get back into my running. I ran a marathon, run a half marathon, run a marathon, get into the London Marathon, which I did. And then at the end of uni, the plan was to graduate and move straight to Dubai. This has been a plan that I've always had growing up. These things, like where I'm up to now in life, like these things didn't come by chance. They didn't come, like none of it was a surprise or a shock. It was all things that like I planned. I'd literally said, I'm going to do these things. There was never an if I'm going to do these things, like if I'm going to do these things, it was always when I'm going to do these things, I'm going to do these things. And I think because I've manifested it so hard, all of these things start to come true. You've just got to shift your words from if these things happen into when these things happen. I failed my A-levels. I did 4. I started off with 4. I ended up dropping one of them because I was so bad at it. So I ended up dropping psychology. I did psychology, computing, art and English. I dropped psychology in the first term and I failed the other 3. So my uni course to get into it was you had to have 3 Bs. I didn't even get a C and I still got on the course, and I truly believe that is because I had manifested so hard that I was going to be on that course. It was like I knew my future self. Do you know what I mean? It was almost like I was looking into the future almost. I knew I was going to be on that course even if I didn't get the grade. Well, I didn't know it at the time, but obviously looking back now, I knew I was going to get into that course. I didn't even end up getting the grades to get into it, but still got accepted somehow onto the course. And if I didn't get into that course, I wouldn't have been able to move to Dubai in the end. So here I am, did my 3 years. The London Marathon, if any of you know, the London Marathon is a ballot to get in unless you're running a charity place. I had applied for the ballots. Now you've got to be 18 to run it. So when I was 17, I knew I wanted to start running it. I applied for the ballot, obviously didn't get it. It was my first time applying for it, so how lucky would that have been if I had have actually got it? Anyway, I didn't, and I ended up getting offered a charity place. An opportunity came up with a charity called Leukemia Care. Leukemia Care was really close to heart. My grandpa, he used to have leukemia. Got into talks with Leukemia Care. They offered me a place in the 2017 London Marathon. I was their youngest runner. I had literally just turned 18. I think I was the second youngest runner that year. I think somebody actually ran on their 18th birthday. I'm sure they did that year. But anyway, I was 18 nonetheless. That opportunity had just presented itself to me. It was absolutely amazing. I did have to fundraise for that. I did bake sales in sixth form. I did coffee mornings at my work. I used to work in a coffee shop. So I did coffee mornings. I did like the Liverpool half. So all of these wonderful things. But anyway, I ended up doing it. It was amazing. So I'd started applying to jobs in the UK and in Liverpool, and there was just no jobs. It was COVID. COVID had just happened. Started applying and just wasn't landing anything. Like I was fresh out of uni, I was 21, and I ended up getting 2 interviews for over here. And the first interview flopped so hard, so hard. I'd literally stayed up the night before, didn't even go to sleep, but not like preparing for it. I was on FaceTime to all my mates, do you know what I mean? Like, had no notes going into this interview, and the girl that was interviewing me was a little bit like, why are you even on this call? Because I was like, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm so sorry. And I had another one a couple of weeks later, and within that time of having the first interview and leading up to the second one, I'd started to think, oh, actually, like, I need to pull my figure out a little bit here. I need to actually put some work in if this is going to happen. So then I interviewed again a couple of weeks later and got offered the job. In the interview, I was absolutely made up. At the end of the interview, the guy who was interviewing me, he was like, yep, so I'll see you in 3 months. So I was like, what? Oh my gosh, like, oh, it's just amazing coming out here. But again, that was like, I'd said I'm going to do this when I moved to Dubai. That was the narrative all throughout like my teenage years. So yeah, don't get me wrong, sometimes I've had a narrative and it's not worked out. So all through uni, my dream proposal, I've always thought about like the way I'm going to get engaged and how I'm going to get engaged. And growing up, I was convinced that I was going to find my dream man and I was going to get engaged to on the day that I graduate, and I'll have like my cap and my gown and I'll get engaged. That again, that was when I get engaged, when I graduate, I'm going to get engaged. It was just, I don't know where that idea even came from, but anyway, looking back now, thank God that I mean, don't get me wrong, I wasn't in a position that I could have done, but my graduation was cancelled. I didn't get to graduate. I never had a graduation. I never ever got to wear the cap and the gown because of COVID. Now I am engaged and it is literally the most perfect situation ever. I've got the perfect fiance. Like, I'm at such a good age now. I'm at such a good position in my life that I can afford to plan a big wedding, and I can afford to do all these things that I probably wouldn't have been able to do when I was 21. So things happen for a reason. They really do. Graduation was supposed to get cancelled. I wasn't ever supposed to get engaged on graduation. That was never meant to happen. But then when I moved to Dubai and I started thinking about that first interview that I had, that I obviously didn't get, I wasn't very prepared for it. But that interview, I didn't know like how far away things were from Dubai, but the place I was interviewing for was in Al Ain. Now, Al Ain is a long way from where I am and where I wanted to live. So where I live now is the exact location I want to stay in. Al Ain's obviously a very long way from here. So looking back, that was supposed to happen. I was never ever meant to get that job. So even if I had done really well in the interview and got the job, I wouldn't have been living in the place that I actually wanted to. You just need to shift the narrative. Stop saying if I get to do these things or if this opportunity presents itself. You need to say when I do these things. I started content creating in October. Just started posting videos, like didn't really have any intention for it to go anywhere. I'm currently filming for my first brand deal, which is really exciting, and I am now looking at those opportunities of it becoming a full-time job / career. I am sitting and doing like the works at the moment. I'm really brainstorming where I want myself to be in the next 5 years, because when I moved to Dubai, I stopped my 5-year plan. Like, I didn't really have any goals, kind of lost a bit of motivation, but that's a video for another day. And then recently, literally in the last month or so, I've really said to myself, no, Emily, you need to have goals. You need to have like a plan, because otherwise, if I don't have a plan and I'm not manifesting this, who knows where I'm going to end up? Or I could end up being in the same place that I have been. When I first moved out here, I was really driven and I ended up getting promoted. So I moved out when I was 21 and I got a promotion, which was absolutely amazing. I feel like this is kind of everywhere. This is going to take a lot of editing, but I moved out here at 21 and I had sent an email to one of the directors at the place saying I'd love to have a little bit more responsibility, and they said no, like, you're too young, you're too fresh, whatever. Literally 2 months later, an opportunity had come up and I didn't even interview for it. I got a call the day before going back to work after some time off saying, oh, by the way, so you're going to be overseeing this department now. I was like, sorry, what? Little 21-year-old me. Opportunity had just presented itself. Like, oh my, it was almost like too easy, do you know what I mean? But again, I fully believe I have manifested that. Even like down to the car. When I first passed my driving test, I was 18 and I had a little Corsa. It was like a 2004 model Corsa, a little 3-door. I loved it, don't get me wrong. That was like the cutest little car, and it had eyelashes on the headlights and everything. And I was driving this little car behind a BMW X1, and I remember sitting in like at these traffic lights looking at the car in front of me, and I was like, oh my goodness, that car is huge, but it's so like feminine. It was so girly. I thought the BMW X1 was such a girly car, and I remember sitting and looking at it, and I was like, I'm gonna drive that car one day. Fast forward to now, here we are. Good, oh my gosh. So I was 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. How old was I when I got it? I was 26. Fast forward 8 years, I'm driving my very own BMW X1, which is insane to me, because at one point I was manifesting that car. Do you know what I mean? Like, you just, again, shift the narrative. It's not if you get to do these things, it's when you get to do these things. You need to actually convince yourself, convince your body and convince your mind that these things are already in place to happen, not that they could happen or they might happen. You need to actually convince yourself that these things are going to happen or they're not going to happen. So anyway, there's my rant. Cheers.